You know, like, not to change the subject, but um,
Oh,
maybe we should like start the episode officially. I mean, we've already started, but like, isn't this Defen episode something or other, Ray?
F036247, I think maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Since we actually hashed the audio file, we can't know the episode number by definition until Velter finishes editing it. But
Yeah.
That's exciting.
this is episode. This is some episode.
It's a wild
Some
ride,
hash.
Siyoung.
Yeah,
It's an absolutely
Yeah,
wild ride
yeah.
with us on this show. We don't know the episode until the very, very end. I mean, this is how crazy we are.
Ray,
I
just
love
like introduce our guest already, dude. What? Come on, get to it.
Oh,
We're
right.
waiting.
Okay. Right. Well, yes. So, Siyoung, we kind of all met a little bit earlier in. I was going to say this year, but actually, I think it was last year. Now, everything's
Was it
flying
already?
past.
Oh
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
last
it was
year.
last year. Yeah, and it was on a Cloj panel about the deeper
Yeah, macro
implications of
expand
AI. I
deep.
think it was called.
Yeah,
Yeah.
conference. Yeah.
And it was an absolute pleasure to hear Siyoung talk about her experiences on that podcast, on that discussion panel. So we were both very excited to follow that up, and finally it's come to fruition that she's here, she's ready, she's prepared, and
Wait, like
here she
more
is.
prepared than any guest has ever been on this show, I have to say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm very shocked to hear it, but thank you. I like to be prepared.
You're making us
Well,
look like professional.
yeah.
That's no good.
No, that's not happening. She's making herself look professional.
Oh, yeah,
making
okay,
us,
fair,
by
fair.
contrast, making look even more amateur. So shade on us. But thanks, Siyoung. It really is a pleasure to have you on the podcast. And maybe you can just tell us a little bit about yourself and how our audience might relate to you.
Okay, thanks. First of all, thanks for having me. So I'm Siyoung. I'm currently living in Seoul, South Korea, and I've been working as a full stack Clojure developer for some years. So previously, I was in tech, but not as a developer. Then my coding career started with the quality engineer, so test automation. And then I thoroughly enjoy the job, like just being able to think of end-to-end and the full user stories and finding some what's wrong and reporting it. But at some point, I just had a desire of like, okay, there's an issue. I want to fix it. Oh, there is a feature that developers building, and I'm just coming up with tests, like how to automate the tests. I actually want to build it. All this like extra desire just happening, like coming up more and more. That's where I just started to finding a way to becoming a developer. And that's also when I was working in a full stack Clojure shop company. And since then, as a developer, I've used many different languages so far, but Clojure has been staying strong as my favorite one.
Was that first job, Xiang, was that just a coincidence that it was a Clojure job, or?
I think Clojure definitely encouraged me to become a developer even more. I had like desire of it. Like, so my background, like I studied astrophysics, and I was able to do some research during my undergrad under my supervisor for 2 years in a lab. And that's where, and it was a running computer simulation using supercomputer. And that's where I started actual like programming, and I really enjoyed it. but I didn't really know after graduating the university, like, how to get a actual developer job. I did apply multiple job with, hundreds of job, but never heard back. Um,
Mhm.
Like a
um,
message out to the stars.
We've all seen Contact, right? Or what's the
Yeah.
news show where the aliens beam down the beautiful genetic code that makes us all love each other? You know what I'm talking about? What's that show
No
called?
idea. No idea. No.
Oh,
No
come on.
idea.
I'll think of it. Whatever.
Anyway,
Continue. I'll think of it.
but the actual question is like, I always get so frustrated by people who were like maths or physics majors, and they end up like automatically going into software development. It's such everything is flattened these days. I mean, where are all the astrophysics jobs these days? It's sort of like it's so such a waste of talent, in my opinion. That you're. I mean, not that you aren't going to do great work with Clojure and software and that kind of stuff, but that obviously wasn't your kind of dream growing up. It wasn't where you developed all your skills and all your knowledge. So yeah, I was wondering, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the fact that you ended up like doing this rather than doing your sort of like when you had a telescope as a kid and you were dreaming about the stars?
Yeah, I definitely like in my childhood, and once I fell in love looking up the sky, looking at those stars and with my telescope. And also especially I love looking at the moon with my telescope for hours and
Mm.
hours. Like
Yeah.
the moon
Mm,
has a map, like each crater has like its name,
mhm,
and they look all different. It's so like fascinating, and I think I wasn't a very, like, patient kid, like, I'm and I get sick of things quite quickly and easily,
Mhm.
but science, math, especially learning, like, about stars, it never made me sick of it, so I thought that was,
mhm,
like, "Yeah, this is it." And then, of
Mm.
course, like, starting my undergrad, studying them, I thought that I would become a researcher.
mhm,
Mm.
mhm,
But especially astrophysics, I still remember um, there were only two of my basically like the same year classmates went to grad school.
mhm,
So
Mm.
the department itself was very small, and at least the school I went to, the University of Toronto, and pretty much every grad students um, going direct, like after graduating undergrad, going directly to grad school, they were getting a full scholarship,
mhm,
and
mhm,
that definitely made like that was great, but at the same time, um, also didn't have enough funds. So
mhm.
Right.
I
So,
think it's yeah, and then I
Capitalism is to
wasn't
blame again.
yeah, stupid capitalism. But so you said the University
Oh.
of Toronto, like, how did you end up, in Canada?
the funny story. So, um, I was in my as soon as I become an adult, like adult age, legal adult age, I had like
Is that, like, 18 in Korea or 16 or
19.
Oh, okay, yeah, of course, some other number.
Yeah, other number. You're wrong. um,
I usually am, to be fair.
um, it. I think I always, even before becoming an adult, like looking at the stars, I even already mentioned that I was an oddball. Always felt like I love my country, but I also felt like something's not quite right with me. Is it
I can relate.
is is it problem um, from me, or can I
Mhm,
explore some other options? So that was just my first step.
Mhm.
to go to Canada, and that was only for supposed to be like 10-month long learning English.
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
language training. So like, registering ESL school
Mhm.
and learning English and free time you can do, you can travel, you can meet other people, do other
Right, right.
activities. Um, so part of my other activities become attending uh, it's sort of like the weekly seminar happening at the University of Toronto in physics
Mhm.
department. So pretty much all the
Cool.
universities and physics department host like weekly seminars. So inviting all like different experts doing research in their like in physics or even like astrophysics in their field, and then talk about their specialties and have discussion about it, called colloquium. And I attended one in Korea, but then I also, in my free time while I was in Canada, I went to the one at the University of Toronto, and
Mhm.
it was just the vibe was so different, and there was more engagement, more
Mhm.
questions, and people were more excited. And also
Mhm.
a big thing for me was, there were more, diverse range of age in the audience that
Oh, okay. Mhm.
yeah, because it's open to public, but I noticed, like, that applies to here as well, but I've never seen anyone, like, outside of the school joining those
Mhm.
kind of
Right.
events. So I felt like, oh, this kind of just being able to interact and then hear different people, and I felt that was, like, for me. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, before I left after 10 months, like, without telling my parents, I applied to the school, um,
Oh,
and
I
then went
thought you
back to
meant you
school.
left without telling your parents. I was like, "Oh, damn."
So, the I in overall, I was a good daughter for them because I didn't make a huge, like, problem in my teens and so on. Um, but that was quite the shock for them once I got the acceptance letter, like,
Mhm.
shipped, like, delivered to Korea, and then just, like, I opened it up and then immediately told them, and they were like they just lost words, and
Nice, nice. In a good
I
way,
think
I hope.
yeah, yeah, and eventually,
Okay.
um
Mom and Dad, I'm going to Canada.
but of course, it was it's for them. I think they sort of anticipated in a way that, like, I wasn't the, like, ordinary child
Mhm.
in some sense. Um, I always wanted to, learn something new, and, like, they were supportive, but I think, like, eventually they were like, "Oh, yeah, we sort of anticipated this, right?" Like, um and I think I just didn't really have, like, a good presentation to show them, like, why I have to go back, but I just felt like kept
Mhm.
saying, like, I think I gotta go."
Were
And I
you
went
thinking
back.
of, like, making a PowerPoint to explain this to them, or what?
Yeah, because they were so worried. First of all,
Ah,
I'm still very young and
Yeah.
mhm,
women,
mhm.
and also my 10-month language training was actually my first time abroad.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
Right.
that was
Uh-huh.
also, like, hard for them to support me on that and send me that for 10 months, and
Mhm.
then came back, and then the daughter says, like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna go back and at least stay there for another 4 years."
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
must have missed you, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
How long did you end up staying then? Because you stayed longer than 4 years, I think, right, in the end?
Yeah, so in total, 15 years,
What?
I
Whoa.
I graduated my undergrad, and then, it took some time, but got a full-time job,
Mhm.
um, and then got permanent resident status
Mhm.
and like worked there for a while, bought a house with my husband, and
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
I thought, I didn't wanna give up my Korean citizenship, but I thought that was sort of my new home, like, Canada was my new home, and then I was gonna be there. Um, but like everyone else, the COVID hit, and
Oh, yes.
Mm, mm.
It's that time in the podcast when somebody's telling a life story and we hit 2020. Oh, Lord. Buckle up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The missing years. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jesus. The
yeah.
long 2020. It was like 5 years or something in that 1 year. Terrible.
Yeah.
It it was just a lot. I think the main thing I love about living in Toronto, especially how lively the city is, how
Mhm.
diverse, and I didn't feel, even though, like, still not citizen, but as foreigner, but, like, it's such a diverse, um, city that I felt like just I felt I was belonging there.
Mhm.
Um, but lockdown happened. Also, like, our wedding got postponed twice.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and at least, like, I try to visit my family once a year, which I couldn't
Uh-huh.
do for over 2 years during the time.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I the it's very, like, it's famous about, like, the winter in Canada is quite
Mhm.
harsh,
Mhm.
but the
Mhm.
rest of the season quite pays off, but, like,
Yeah.
during COVID, it didn't. It was just harsher than ever.
Oh,
I
no. Oh,
felt
no.
like it's not true, but I felt like the cold air, like, I felt my bones had, like, holes and then just cold air going
Yeah.
through,
Oh,
like,
wow, wow. Yeah, I
A
mean,
um
quick
I'm a
question for you,
Swede and I
actually.
still Oh, sorry, Ray, go ahead.
No,
I
no,
was just
please.
talking about the weather, so, well, I'm in Sweden,
Oh, yeah.
and even we in Sweden look at Canada and like, "Oh, that's cold. We don't wanna go there."
Yeah, I was
Sorry,
gonna
Ray,
ask,
back
like,
to you.
no, no, it's fine. I was because actually Sweden had a particular take on COVID, which
Uh, don't
we
remind
can
me,
talk about.
Jesus.
Yeah, but I was wondering because obviously America had a take as well, which was like essentially almost to the point of like, yeah, we've had a lockdown, but you know what? Just open everything back up again. I can't remember. I don't know if I read or whatever. You were there. What was the sort of Canadian take on COVID? Were they kind of like, was it a good outcome? Did they protect their citizens, or was it more kind of anyway? You tell me.
it's At the start, the lockdown was very strict, and it lasted a while.
Mm,
Um, and of course, like, uh, in the end, I think all this, like, sort of the crazy dramas happening around the globes about, like, I don't know if I want to go too much about, like, the massacre situation, and um, I think it became quite similar to what was happening in the States, but people were very, like, yeah, like, we're all at home. Didn't
mm,
Mhm, mhm.
Also, like, sorry, I don't know if I could describe this quite well because, like, I stayed home, um,
Yeah, yeah.
and of course, like, also the companies, later on, like, my work was acquired by an American company, but at the time, the Canadian
They made you
company,
go
they
back
were
to the office.
they actually did the survey, and pretty much nobody wanted to go back at the end, so
Yeah.
it was surprising they were still paying the high rent on the offices, but they just
Uh-huh.
didn't force anyone.
Oh, wow,
Um,
okay.
yeah, yeah, so until we left Canada, I was working from home,
Mhm.
um, but I know, not everyone was like me, of course.
mm.
Um
Yeah, yeah. I just typed what Sweden was like in COVID in the chat, and I won't go into that here because that'll get me started on a 15-minute rant. But so maybe we should talk about closure again. And
Right.
we
Yeah.
we were
Okay.
talking a little bit before we realized we had like started the podcast, and you were mentioning a little about your experience in the closure community. But maybe if we kind of ask that question in a more focused way. Like, you said that closure kind of maybe drew you more into wanting to be a software engineer, even though that like desire was there. Closure maybe made it stick, I think is how you said it. Um, how, what's it been like in the closure community for you?
It's been the one of many main reasons that I stay in the community. Like the community has been very supportive. Um, and even though everyone has different interests and expertise, I've found there's some sort of similarities in like persona or something that really bond us closely. But then it's not like too intense, but like just very chill, but still when you need help, someone's there for you. Um, the kindness overall, uh, the quite, in my opinion, overall the all the like events and sessions that I join online or offline, I felt very safe.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
especially the community I'm currently in, Cyclodge. Um,
mhm. Yeah.
so Cyclodge,
Daniel is amazing, right? I
oh
think
yeah,
that, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So Daniel was the person when I first reached out to official Cyclodge email that I always wanted to do something like contribute something in open source, but
Mhm,
personally, um, without like computer science background, but then jumping in just professionally as a developer, I think I felt quite unsure what I can do, where I can start. But my email was responded by Daniel quite immediately.
mhm.
Meeting was booked quite immediately
Mm.
again. And our first meeting was, such a good listener as well. Like just
Mhm.
getting to know about my background, my interests, and um, also the Daniel has such a chill vibe that like I thought like I was like I try not to
Super
overtalk,
chill.
right? But then like some sort of like talent Daniel has, like I overshared. But found like Daniel helped to find some parts that I could help, which was last year. Uh, the community already has been doing it, had been doing it, but wanted to do more, expanding its roles um, to promote closure and bringing newcomers to the community and more, and trying to find a way to do that. And amongst many initiative, one of them was to provide more like a learning, the real case, like usage examples with closure, with Cyclosh libraries and so on. Um, and I was able to help some of that out. And then also we hosted some online conferences and be able to, invite the people in different expertise and interests and talk about their work and also provide the workshops. So um, newcomers who don't know where to start, like live coding session with um, the community members and learn how to do things. Um, so yeah, like I personally felt very hesitant to reach out. Like already this like very established community is over, like in general, I felt like, oh, joining as a newbie to, already like well-established group, I might not be able to fit in, but that was entirely false. Like including Daniel and everyone in the community was so welcoming, so curious about what I do, what I'm interested in. Even like, I still remember earlier last year we had a online conference, and I was talking about computational fluid dynamics.
Yeah, as you do.
Yeah, that was because that was the one like the research I was in during undergrad, and then I always felt like I wanna do something about it again or just, like,
Right.
relearn it since it's been so many years and I forgot so many things. Um, but anyway, like, there were so many different kinds of subjects presented during that conference, but then there were so many, common subjects, that we, later on, like, established new groups of people and collaborated. And that kind of dynamics and interactions, it was the first time for me, and I just had a blast. I and I'm very introverted, but like, um, and sometimes like interacting with many people really make
Mhm.
like make me feel like anxious and stressed
Mm.
sometimes, but, like, I've
I
never
feel you.
felt with yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you know?
yeah.
But with any events during Psych Lodge, I never felt that, nor,
Mhm,
like, any sessions, events I attended in Clojure. Um, it was I still remember, my first time, um, attending Conj, that was 2019,
Oh,
mhm.
okay.
in
In the US, in
yeah,
DC,
in
was it,
Durham.
or
I went
Durham,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah, and the day before, like, official start of the conference, like, the board game night, do you guys know that?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
they have
I've heard
that,
about
like
it, but I've never actually been to the conj. But
They
oh,
did, the board game night at Euroclosure as well, Ray, I guess, the one in Slovenia where we first met? You remember that?
could be, could
Okay,
be. I didn't
anyway,
attend. But okay. Yeah.
that was a million years ago. Sorry,
Mm.
Siyoung, back to you. Sorry, the
oh,
conj, the board game night, yeah.
it was such a chill vibe. My previous like, the before Conj, it was more like the science conference during undergrad, and it was like, very serious and very
Mm.
Mhm,
like,
mhm,
and most of the time, like as an undergrad student, like I didn't understand most of talks that they were having, but this time, like I just felt even there were lots of people in the audiences and I'm surrounded by people, I felt less anxious. So,
mhm, mhm,
amongst many reasons, I think that was like the over the years reason that I stayed in the community because I got so much benefit from it and have appreciation. Um, I don't know if I'm doing enough, but I think through Cyclodge, I'm hoping to be able to give back some as well. That yeah,
Yeah, but that's
it's
great.
a
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I was going to say, so your kind of physics and science background attracted you to that community, and it's been a kind of welcoming experience. So, I mean, I think that's yeah, I think that's fantastic. It's definitely something where I feel like physics and science in general is being dominated by other languages, obviously, especially Python. Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, how did you when you talk to like other colleagues or whatever or outside of the closure community? Do you kind of like get any pushback about that, or are you kind of reaching out, or how is that working?
Um, I think last year I hadn't done it in a while, but then I started looking at what my older supervisors has been doing. While I was in his lab, I use Python for data analysis after the simulation
Mhm.
running.
Sure.
But then he was still using like different languages. So like the simulation itself was written in C++.
Yeah,
Um,
typical.
many, yes, of course, yeah. And then um, the supervisor loved using Fortran for his calculation.
Ooh.
Um,
Very
but
old school.
now,
Yeah,
yeah, I
Well,
found,
scientists, right? They love
yeah,
Fortran. Yeah.
that's
yeah.
true. Yeah.
I thought that was like in he didn't really force us to like use it, but I was also just I think general I love learning new languages or tools, so I also had fun. Recently when I looked him up again, most of his I guess research related uh, contribution um, has been in Python. So
Mhm.
I don't know in other um, fields, but especially in astrophysics, I think definitely Python is the strongest um, language
Mhm.
in use. Um, I was very, I was this close to reach out and talk about about my initiative and introducing him about Cyclage. But of course, like
Mhm.
I'm still very shy, so I haven't done that. Um, um, and then slightly going back to Ray's questions of why um, the not enough like people doing research, why are they turning into programmers? So I wanted to like
Yeah.
see if there were grad students and postdoc I also interact with, work with. I also one of them
Mm.
was also my sub supervisor, um, and it was interesting. So like most of them, they started their grad school like ultimate goal is to be in like faculties, but a lot of
Right,
them when
right.
I looked them
Tenure
up,
track. Yeah.
yeah, like I when I looked them up, they actually, a lot of them finished their PhD, but eventually like they became all developers and QA engineers.
Oh, God damn it.
So I was like, "Oh, I got no one to talk about this other than okay, yeah, eventually I'll get ready, and then reach out my supervisor, my
Yeah.
professor," but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Like the
I don't
black
know.
hole of development is strong.
Yeah. I just had this vibe of you, or not vibe, sorry. I just had this image of you, like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, but just like looking up at the moon with your telescope and then like going into astrophysics. And so I'm just waiting for you to discover, extraterrestrial life. So if you could get right on that, that would be terrific.
That's the, ultimate goal of my life, like but
Seriously?
yeah, like, I want to find something, but of course, like, my research wasn't about, observational research, like
Uh,
but I still love looking at stars. Of
mm.
course, like, we moved to Seoul, which has the most, like one of the most,
Right?
like,
Light pollution.
light pollutions,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
um, but
I live right by an airport, Siyoung, so I can't like I'm lucky
oh,
if I can see Venus.
oh my god.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I mean, obviously, Korea is a big place, so you could probably head out into the hills and get some clear night skies.
Yeah, yeah. So during my high school, I definitely attended some of the offline, like the astronomy observation meetup groups. And a lot of times those events happening in like deep in the mountains.
Right,
And
right.
some uh at the time I was just a little y- younger, cannot drive, but some of adults will bring their own telescopes and um watch stars, drink a lot of alcohols, and get drunk. And that's also where all this like extra inspiration happens, of course.
Okay.
So you see aliens whether they're there or not, right?
Anything is possible, when you have that moment, and yeah, those were good times, and I definitely want to do it again. We have our car, and we haven't done it.
Yeah.
My husband and I really love hiking, and Korea
Oh yeah.
has lots of mountains.
Mm, mm.
So
So
does Sweden if you want to come visit. Just saying is all.
oh, we love to. Like,
Mm.
it's funny.
Well, that's really good.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't been to Europe, so I'd love to visit.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty of mountains in Europe, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just submit a talk to Dutch Closure Days next year, and then fly over, and we can take you on a tour of Europe if you want.
Oh, that would be so lovely. Thanks.
No, seriously, I mean, there will be opportunities for you to come and speak, and
Yeah,
a lot of the
absolutely,
times these conferences will pay expenses, or at least a large amount of the expenses. So,
hundred
you
percent.
know, yeah, let's
And
talk
I
about
think,
that offline. Yeah,
yeah,
we'll get you an invite for sure. Um,
yeah, but we're not gonna let you off the hook, right? That's the thing. Where
oh
you're
no, no,
on the
no, no,
hook
no,
now.
no.
You're on the hook.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're officially
I'm
on the
excited.
hook now. Yeah. Yeah, so it's good. Yeah, no, so all this kind of like stuff in Korea. So coming back to the closure world of Korea. So I mean, I we don't really hear that much about closure in Korea, but maybe you could share your thoughts about that. Maybe it's a sort of unsung, like an unlit star, uh, or an undiscovered star, let's say, in the firmament of closure.
Yeah, I don't think stars are stars if they're unlit, Ray. I think they're just particles or
I
dust
corrected
clouds.
myself there. Come on.
All right, all right.
God
Sorry to
damn it.
science explain you there, Ray, but
Yeah.
you're embarrassing us in front of an astrophysicist. Stop it.
Oh, I'm not astrophysicist. I'm just enthusiast,
Okay,
astrophysicist
all right.
enthusiast. Um, yeah, the community here is definitely not big, but it's here. Um,
Mm,
and I already have met multiple very passionate Clojurians here in Korea over the last 3 years. And I think some years ago there were definitely more companies, not like many, but some companies that openly like talking that they were using Clojure for their like for building their products. I
Oh, cool.
think yeah, at the moment there are not many left, but they're still there. And there are kind of regular basis. There's offline closure meetups happening here in Seoul. And
great.
then there is also a relatively big functional programming conference happening here. And Closure definitely has a big role and contribution for that event.
Hmm.
And then I also know a couple of CTOs um,
Mhm.
here and closure devs from few startups, tech startups, and um, especially like I have such a high respect towards them, because I didn't know about this up until I got to know Clojurian here. Apparently, Korea, like jokingly and not jokingly, the tech scene is very like, it's called Java Republic. So, and
Well,
yeah,
hate the Java, love the JVM, right? Isn't that what it says in the Bible?
yes, yes. uh, so I think the respect, like the high respect that I have is like in this like Java Republic environment, their perseverance and um, choosing the language that is not Java
Mhm, mhm.
and be able to continue. And and also, I think one of CTO hired like some developers who never used Clojure but
Yeah.
successfully trained them.
Mhm.
Um, it's it's very like inspiring and and also sorry, I'm going slow.
Don't worry about it.
Um,
We'll speed you up
Well,
in the edit, you know.
yeah, I was
yeah,
going to say, Walter.
thank you. Um,
I'm one of the world's slowest talkers, so I think
You don't know this, but Welter actually bumps me up to 2.5x in the edits.
oh, really?
yeah. No, not really. I mean,
No,
yes
it
or no. I don't
2.5.
know.
I was like,
Whatever's funnier. Just
definitely. Um, yeah, and then it's not happening anymore. And I was in a study group, Clojure and Haskell, uh,
whoa.
with 3 other Clojure developers, and didn't since like life happened, so it didn't last long. But
Mhm.
Mhm.
you know, it's very like I was so um, grateful to get to know the people with in the same interest and being able to get excited together. Like it's
Yeah.
always I feel it's a special like moment, um, especially since I moved here. I've been working remotely, so didn't
Yeah.
really have like a sort of so-called human interactions at work that much,
Mhm.
the face-to-face type of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, the I still am very hopeful to see more activities within the Clojure community here in Korea.
Yeah.
But just overall, the market is very like, tech and economy, everything is quite tough.
Right.
So I notice um, not only Clojure, but in general, like things are quieter. Um,
Yeah.
but I know still like the interest and the the effort to keep the community going is still happening. It's just not very obvious. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. So I know that one of the things we were talking about before is that digital sustainability is something that you're really interested in, right? So, I mean, maybe there's an opportunity there, Xiong, to start some kind of digital sustainability with Clojure meetup in Seoul.
oh, I'd love to do that. You know, I mean, and also like that's the thing. Like in Clojure, even though like we're from the different background, like most of time when I have a conversation with people I get to know, like quite have a similar interest in
Mhm.
terms of like the perspectives for um, the the society or what matters in
Really?
life.
Hmm.
Yeah, so when I get to talk to people in Clojure community, like most of the time I could see like it's easily get derailed, not only just talking about Clojure, but also like, what's happening in this world and
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
expand, and then the schedule time, always over the schedule time and just on and on.
We know nothing about that on Deafin Podcast, where episodes are always half an hour on the dot,
On the clock.
plus or minus 6 hours.
It's yeah, I'd love to it's as an introvert, it's really hard to have initiative like and then start something, but I'm taking last year and this year while being part of the psychology community and just like gaining experience and energy to be able to broaden what I could do and where I could meet people. Um, so we'll see. I'm looking forward to, yeah, what could be done here in Korea and be able to, share the stories to the overall Clojure community for sure.
So, can you maybe just explain a little bit more about what digital sustainability means to you?
Right. Before we talk about that, I should be very carefully point out that I'm no, this is my personal opinion. I'm not an expert on any particular thing. But I I believe there is like no person knows it all, solves it all, does it all. Um,
Mhm.
and I think this applies in general life. And anything that could be sustainable because we're imperfect. Um, and there's always good and bad in life. Um, in order to sustain something in a longer term, like I believe we have to um, have more critical thinking and talk about it more openly.
Xiang,
Um,
I'm sorry, I have to push back against all of this. There is right and wrong, and I'm always right, and everybody else is always wrong. The critical thinking, what do we need that for? We have LLMs these days. So I'm sorry, I couldn't let that point go by without, arguing with you.
well, I I respect what you think.
No, you don't. Come on, admit it.
You're wrong.
Yeah, he is
Thank
wrong.
you.
I mean, yeah, just pick any subject, really.
Guilty. Yeah. Sorry. You were making actually a very good point that critical thinking is important. Nothing is right or wrong. We have to really get into the discussions. And I derailed it with my stupid joke. So
No,
let me
no, it's
let me
not
re-rail you.
sustainable. I think it is like important. Like everyone has a different personality, different perspective, different thoughts. Um, I just want. I think I'm broadening my view, hopefully, while when I'm able to hear what others thinking, and I and that's where and that kind of like providing the space to be able to talk or just have an opportunity to meet new people and then learn what they're thinking. Um, I think that's where I personally felt like I've been able to grow further. I don't know what kind of growth I'm doing, but
Listen, it sounds good from over here. It sounds like the right kind of growth, not
Yeah.
the unsustainable GDP style growth. I think this is growth of the mind. We like that.
I I just I might sound very naive here, but like the current I'm in tech, but then current like the general vibe or the ecosystem is really like fast and
Yeah.
like
Too fast. Yeah.
you've very fast like you get in, you gain something big and then
Mhm.
exit. Um,
Mm.
the
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
personally feels a as a, like, the goal of, like, successful exit is the, like, ultimate goal for this startup, like, I've actually heard that,
Yeah, of
um,
course, of course.
and I just pardon my language, but that at the time, I felt like that was the most bullshit I've ever heard, um
Well, the question is, what does it mean to exit? Exit is a kind of entry as well, because you might have an idea, it might grow a bit, you exit, but then someone else is like essentially absorbing that set of ideas or that set of technologies. So it's not like it's a zero sum situation, is it? Where someone enters a space, gives up an idea, makes some growth, and then exits. It's not normal to exit, I think. Why is this? What's this exit bullshit? I mean, to your point.
It's
Money, capitalism,
yeah, the
bad.
money
Yeah, I know the answer. I know the answer. I wanted Siyoung
Right.
to have a bash at it as well because she's a
Oh,
better thinker
sorry,
than you
sorry.
are.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is fair. QED, I think we would say.
yeah, through this exit, like, I just wanna ask, like, is everyone's benefiting it equally or just, like,
Mhm, mhm.
Mm,
fairly? I think that's my question, and in reality, so far, historically, I've seen that's not the case. Um,
Yeah.
so this a smaller group of people getting successful exit. And then a lot of times they re-enter with their chunk of money in any ways, right? But
Right, right.
yeah.
Well, there's a whole train of these people, right? Like you have Mark Andreessen, who, got a good exit from Netscape and then re-entered as a VC and is like a total purveyor of right-wing bullshit ideas. You got Paul Graham, similar story. There's a whole train of these fucking idiots basically who get lucky, basically make money, and then they're coming back and like it's the survivor bias or whatever, right? I won the lottery and now I think I'm smart. I figured out the game behind the lottery and I'm just, whatever. So sorry. Maybe that was a sidetrack, but
but I think you have a great point. This so-called lucky uh lucky ones, have more opportunity to say, um, those are the minor, like less people, and their majority of people still day to
yeah,
day work really hard.
yeah.
Um, and this one person being able to grab a microphone and just had
Mhm,
audacity to say that I'm right, I'm better
mhm,
than you, and you're not doing it enough. Um, where can I, as a just a normal being, like get the motivation to go on with my life? Like,
mhm.
eh, right? Like, um, I just want to have at least like, this is not really the general industry characteristic, unfortunately, but anymore that but then some sort of like the security of life, like the career, um, and my profession, um, sort of like human centric point of view and focuses the current tech industry we don't talk about that much anymore. um, but just talk about specific technology and
Yeah. I think what you're kind of pointing at, in what I'm hearing a little bit, is that we used to, it was kind of almost become a little bit of a joke, let's say. Um, the idea that we should use technology to make the world a better place, it's become a kind of sad
Right.
joke now, you know.
Right.
But I
Right.
think that's what you're kind of hinting at, is that we need to kind of get back to that vibe, you know, where we're actually doing work for the benefit of humanity, for the benefit of the actual people that are using our technology, you know, as well
Mhm.
as
Mhm.
hopefully the people inside of the industry.
yes. So um I think I got this idea of like sustainability more and then more thinking about it. Um, it was from after we moved, and then there is like in Korea, especially going to some restaurant, I noticed there is a sign of like 100-year-old shops.
Mhm.
Um, and that gave me idea. So this one is like a government initiative that awards certain small businesses with like 100-year shop designation. So it's
Mhm.
like those shops aren't yet like 100-year old, but
Ah,
they're very specialized, like their um, menu, their products, and serving like traditional and local dishes. And the idea behind these designation is to showcase and support like small scale businesses that have been like perfecting their craft for a
mhm.
long time, with a hope that they will last 100 years and beyond.
Mhm.
Um, then the focus and also it's the business and people, and
Mhm. Mhm.
that also comes with interacting with the people around it, visiting, buying the product and appreciating it. Um, as a society, we s- continues um, that small chunks of initiative. I think that's where we could actually sustain things longer, in my honest opinion, rather
Mhm.
than
Mhm.
the big mega company or group just
Right.
controls it and have all the powers. It feels that the focus when there's a smaller group and smaller, more confined focuses, it's easier for us to maintain it and then sustain it.
Yeah.
Um, but when we first start this conversation, I said nobody can know it all, right? Like
Yeah.
because of that, like I think, yeah, I don't believe like the hyper scale of model or technology can
Mhm.
make this world better, um, because we can't individually. I don't know if we have actually ability to digest um,
Yeah.
as it is. Um,
Yeah. Scale makes everything harder, doesn't it? Like whether
yeah,
it's a business or, even just I know Ray, you have a garden that you tend to, and you can kind of just about keep up with your garden, which is relatively modest size. But then, imagine if you scale that out and you move into the neighboring fields, then that becomes harder and harder for you. And I think it's the same with like we had a conversation with somebody about democracy, and that's another thing, right? Democracy is hard to scale up, and certainly if we look at these AI models, the scale just makes it impossible to have any kind of like safety guardrails around these things, right? Because you're feeding them the entire internet and their training data. So I think like you're putting your finger on something there, which is like sustainability. And I kind of hate the idea of sustainable growth, because sometimes in order for a business or whatever to be sustained, like it should not grow, right? There should be a point, like Ray doesn't want a bigger garden because then he couldn't possibly tend to it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want my business to grow beyond 10 people because, I, I couldn't manage my business or whatever, for example.
Yeah, but I
Mhm.
think the concept of a lifestyle business is sort of like
Wonderful.
derided now, isn't it?
Yeah, it
The
is, right?
concept
It
of
is.
a small scale kind of lifestyle business where, yeah, you get to buy a house. Maybe the people that you work with also get to buy a house. Blah blah blah. This feels like the opposite world now. I as a leader, I get to buy 10 houses, and my workers get to buy nothing.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Unfortunately, I think that the division of rewards has to come into this discussion about sustainability,
yeah,
because that's the problem that we have. Like you were hinting at earlier on, Siyoung, that it's one or two people that are gaining the majority of the benefits, and this, like it or not, this is a problem because
Right.
those
yeah,
people, when they get those benefits, who controls what their priorities are? Um, and often their priorities are just more stuff to themselves.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think if you look at just like Elon Musk alone is probably the second most powerful world government, right? Is Elon. Like, he can just do what he wants. And maybe the US government can control him, but no other country can mess with him. So
Yeah.
this took a dark turn.
Yeah. It's okay, but I really think, um, I personally think we need to talk about the the dark side of the reality,
Mhm.
um, especially in tech. Like, I think be I had become quiet because something speaking up what I had in mind was definitely, like, something taboo, and then, like, "Don't kill the
Mhm.
vibe" type of thing,
Right, right.
and let's talk about happier
Yeah.
thing.
Right, right.
Um,
The
but
non-political workplace. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, then
I don't think that us talking about this real stuff is a dark vibe, by the way. And I'm going to push back on you there, Josh,
All right.
because I think
I'm
I think
ready.
real talk is good. We don't have to be depressed about our desire for a fairer world and a fairer place to live and to work. To me, that's a joyous place. It's not dark at all. That this is a
I,
place that I find strength, I find courage, and I find that sustains me. To be honest.
that's
right,
beautiful, Ray. And you were just
yeah.
willfully misunderstanding me because so you could make that beautiful point, weren't you? You jerk. I'm glad you made it, Ray. I'm glad you made it.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
really nice. Like, because I totally agree, like, whether it's positive or negative things, subjects to talk, um, like, currently, I have no suggestible solution. Like, I can't
Mm,
really. I feel very pessimistic overall, but
mm,
I also feel that we need to continue to talk about it, acknowledge it,
mhm.
um, in order for us, like the human evolution, just our brain works that more we think, we find a way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I just want us to continue to talk, and
Yeah.
acknowledge. And I think it's already happening.
Mhm.
There is constant, marketing about like trying to hype AI and
Mm, mm.
pretending that everything is going great, right? But
Yeah.
it's people are already acknowledging like there's something wrong about it, and it's really affecting us
Yeah.
slowly, and concern about it. It's just not they're, you know, the people in power. This sounds so controversial. It's controversial. I'm not trying to do that, but that I eventually feel like more we talk about it, we will be able to have our voices heard more and more.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think it's one of these things, and myself and Josh have talked about this in other forums. Is that the problem with this idea that you shouldn't talk about politics or you shouldn't have your opinions is, it's a kind of barrier that's been put up
Oh
by
yeah. Yeah.
a kind of ideology or a kind of a capitalist society that doesn't want you to question
Yeah. The water
their
you're swimming
motives.
in, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit. I mean, people always talk about like China being oppressive or certain places being oppressive, and yet as soon as you start to raise questions about capitalism, you get all this pushback.
Mhm.
Oh, don't talk about it. You're not
Yeah,
allowed to
don't
talk about
say
this stuff.
Palestine and Germany, You can't say from the river to the sea in Germany, they lock you up. I'm not even
But
fucking
this, it
kidding.
does. I know, but it doesn't even have to get that bad. But if you just question the fact that like every company is a mini dictatorship, which is at the heart of
Yeah,
capitalism,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, even something as simple and as obvious as that, you get pushback. Oh, don't talk about politics. Yeah, but it is like that. Everyday life is like that. What I was going to say though was sort of maybe bringing it back a little bit towards closure and sustainability. One of the things that kind of like I was hearing a little bit with this 100-year thing is like how do we maintain, how do we sustain our software? And it's often the thing that we talk about in Clojure. Like you compare Clojure script to JavaScript, and it's just
right.
total chaos out there.
Yeah,
Whereas in the Clojure script world, things tend to be more stable. Um, in the
mhm,
Clojure world, compared even to Java, in recent iterations, that things have become a bit more, again, a bit more. I wouldn't say chaotic, but a bit more fast paced
yeah,
in the Java world. And in the Clojure world, you've got time to think. You've got time to consider what you're doing with the program, not worrying too much about the infrastructure that's underneath it or whether the platform's
mhm,
changing every 5 minutes. The fact that
mhm,
we get a small release with some small improvements once every 2 or 3 years
yeah,
is it's quite joyous, I think. That to me is how you sustain software going forward. You have some good
yeah,
ideas and then you keep using them and reusing them again and again and again.
yeah. It's like an oak tree. It only grows a centimeter a year.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I think that's definitely what I like about Clojure. Um, this fast-paced industry, we're in that industry in the field, but still there is very like found like a firm foundation within Clojure that it's still there is like already proof that you can build a good product, you can write good code, even if you don't know the hottest tech, hottest trend that currently going on.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
since I'm been in tech industry, there is I'm trying so hard not to, but have this sort of like anxiety,
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
getting keep up with like what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah,
FOMO. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
but I think that being in the closure, being able to write in closure, definitely relieve my anxiety. It helps a lot,
yeah.
Yeah.
because
I
all
mean,
I
Closure
yeah.
is sorry, Xiang, I was just gonna say Closure is it's almost like it's a 75-year-old programming language, right? Because it's like it's in the Lisp tradition. It's quite simple. So I feel like this like fast pace of like you gotta learn the newest thing. Well, I mean, like you said, right? Like the newest thing in Closure is a minor improvement every 2 years, right? So you're
Mm.
not gonna get left behind by this stuff.
There were yeah, and then there were, like especially in ClojureScript, I do remember earlier days, like, with this anxiety, I get to read a lot of, like, opinionated blog post, and like there's also like sort of very strongly saying like the limitation of using ClojureScript and why I moved to so and so. But after more like gaining years of experience as a developer, the great thing about Clojure is I don't think there is a limitation, and also it helps me to continue to like trying to find how I could get to this certain goal. There is always a way, and that's where I feel like um, I'm a, my brain is evolving. Like that's the feeling of that. Like
Yeah.
it still makes like I think that's the satisfaction I get, and then makes me the happiest that I'm able to feel like I become senior developer, but I'm still learning. I'm
Yeah.
still
Mm.
figuring things out, and I'm still squeezing my brains like my hair sometime, but it's once that phase is past and find a solution, like the best feeling I could ever get like for the day. Um
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah, you
very
put that
like rewarding.
transducer and that induction, and it feels good.
Transduce all the things. Yeah, obviously. I mean that's a joyful thought, Xiang. I really like that. I know like I've certainly felt that way as well as a programmer, right? The pure rush you get when you find the solution. And I think one thing I love about the Clojure community is that the value we place on simplicity, for me, that goes hand in hand with the best solutions to problems, right? Like you think about it so long and then, maybe you walk away from it, you take a walk, you go to sleep, you take a shower, you go to the gym, whatever it is that you do, you find your place. And then all of a sudden you're in the middle of, I don't know, cooking dinner and you're like, oh, wait, that's actually quite simple. All I have to do is like forget all of this shit. And there's the answer right there. So
Right.
I really love that kind of moment of clarity, Um, so I was wondering, Shiong, I mean, we've been talking for a while and, we don't want to keep you all night because you're in Korea, so you're a few hours ahead of us here in Europe. Um,
Right.
but is there anything you just want to leave us with? That our audience is meeting you for the first time, most of them. So how would you have them remember you?
Um well, so thanks for having me, and I I'm I will be in Cyclodge community if anyone would like to have any sort of conversations. I would like to ask people in Clojure community that let's talk about anything. Um, you know, the I want us to have a space to talk, exciting technology, but also being in a tech and individually what we do, how it affects our society. Um, I think also that's important to talk about. Um, but with all those seriousness aside, there's also still fun aspects. So let's have fun. One thing I want to promote is in Cyclodge we're gonna have a online festival called Clojurjang. So
Ooh.
I believe it's the first creative coding festival in Clojure. Actually, it doesn't have to be in about Clojure. So anything. Um, I've noticed there are so many talented, like also creative people in the community. So we just want to have fun, like have a space to everyone having fun. Um, so, please join us. If you have something to show, we are currently taking the proposals. So please submit if you have any. Yeah, and
Where do
then
we
once
find
again,
out about it, and what are the dates, Siyoung?
right, yeah. So it's happening in April. The dates are
I
I
just pulled
will
up the page. It's April 18 and 19, and then again 25 and 26. So two weekends in
Right.
a row, I
Right.
guess.
yes, yes. That's usually how we do like conferences and events.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
so yeah, let's talk serious stuff and let's also have fun.
We
Nice.
should add it
And
to the show notes, that's for
we
sure.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the immortal words of Cyndi Lauper, of course, Clojurians just want to have fun.
That's
I
great.
expected you two to join in. Oh, now I'm so embarrassed.
No, you're not.
Ray,
Although you should be.
what was your Repple song from Dutch Closure Day back in the day?
Yeah, actually, it was something else. But yeah, rebel, you're rebel, your state is a mess.
Oh my gosh. Um,
Yeah.
Siyoung, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad we're kind of ending the episode laughing at how ridiculous we are. And you're welcome to be ridiculous as well, Siyoung, anytime you feel like it. And
Great.
we will see you at sorry.
It's easier for us than it is for her. Come on.
Yes. But we'll see you at Closure Jam. We'll see you at other Cycloge things. And actually the Cycloge Macro Expand Deep panel where we first met each other, I think the videos just went up. So maybe we can put those in the show notes as well. Where I mean, to your point, Siyoung, we're having the more serious conversations that you said are important to have. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Siyoung. It's
again.
been really, really good. I mean, finding out all about, your background and the sort of stuff that you want to do, and the work that you're doing in the closure community. Pretty inspiring, I've got to say. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. What you two have been doing, it's very inspiring, and I feel very like privileged to get to know you guys. So thanks for having me again.
Well, it's a
Likewise.
total circle of pleasure here. It's absolutely fantastic.
God damn it, Ray. You know Velter has to edit that out. What the fuck?
What?
Thank you for listening to this episode of Defan. And the awesome vegetarian music or the track is Melon Hamburger by b8c. And the show's audio is mixed by Wouter Dullert. I'm pretty sure I butchered his name. Maybe you should insert your own name here, Dullert.
Wouter.
If you'd like to support us, please do check out our Patreon page, and you can show your appreciation to all the hard work or the lack of hard work that we're doing. And you can also catch up with either Ray, with me, for some unexplainable reason. You want to interact with us, then do check us out on Slack, Clojurian Slack or Clojureverse, or on Zulip, or just at us at Defan Podcast on Twitter. Enjoy your day and see you in the next episode.
We always have a conversation with our guests before starting the recording, and these normally get left on the editing floor. However, this one felt so good that leaving it out would be a crime. So here you go for another 10 minutes.
One thing, that we didn't ask you about, but it was sort of discussed at that panel. Maybe it was discussed. I can't remember if it was discussed offline with Kira, but about being the only woman in the room and being asked your opinion, and it's a trap and all this kind of stuff. I don't know if you want to get into that about the representation or about, being a woman in tech. You don't have to, obviously. It's just that if you feel like there's something there that you want to touch on, or that you think that's important to you, basically, then we're obviously here for it, you know?
I mean, I'm all for, diversity and inclusivity, but relatively, it I think it's part of the reason that in closure shops and want to be
Mhm.
in here because it's generally it's very welcoming environment. It's just it is very unfortunate that um, overall the market has way less women. I when I first started at my previous job, like old job, there were some female developers, but at the
Mm.
end, by the time I left the company, I was the only developer. There were a couple of female QEs, the quality engineers,
Mhm.
Mhm.
um, but I also had like lots of conversation with talent acquisition people and people's team, and um, they were most of the time women as well, and they try so hard to find, more diverse talents. And they were very upfront, like frank about like how hard it is to find,
Yeah.
even like find someone online presence, like, and then reach out and get some good, leads. Um,
It's kind of weird to me to consider women as part of DEI. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like,
Well, white women, yeah, that's the classic, like, white women are not diversity, but that's kind of like in the software community, that's always what we do. We like point to the two white women at the company and we're like, look, diversity.
no. What I mean is that I feel like well, first of all, I think that the fact that you like studied physics is already kind of like interesting because I feel like science and technology and all of those, and I don't know why like maths and science and all this kind of stuff ends up being dominated by men because when we're at school, we're in, well, at least when
Mhm.
I was at school, we're in a class of like 30 kids, 15 girls, 15 boys. The girls are easily as good at all these subjects as the boys are, easily,
Almost as
probably
if they
better.
are people too with similar brains.
Yeah, well, what I mean is, of course, yeah, but the question is like, how does that get whittled down? Where is the thinning out? Because it doesn't seem like there's any lack of
Ages
talent.
13 through 18 is where it gets thinned out.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering why. I mean, again, we don't have to bang on about this too much, but I just wondered if you felt it yourself, Siyoung, as a person going through that filter, if you know what I mean. Like, where did you like? Oh fuck, where's all the women? It's like, I know I'm kind of like I'm kid. I'm doing physics and stuff like that, and like, oh yeah, now what the hell is going on?
it's that's such a like And, first of all, I love this question, and I don't have enough people to talk about these things, so I'm glad you asked. Um, Funnily enough, I went to both women's middle school and high school in Korea, and
Right.
I was the oddball actually that, like, interested in, like, love, math and science. In, high school, it's very competitive. So I went to school, both middle school and high school in Korea, then moved to Canada later on. Um, During those time, there were the times like this typical stereotype. I don't know if it also applies in North America, but there's a thing about like, oh, men does better in math and science.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
that also just on the baseline in school, like generally, and it really pissed me off so much, especially in high school. So for taking like to go to the university, it's similar to SAT in the States. There is like a sort of KSAT. And you can, there is like base one, like Korean, English, math, and maybe some other uh, subjects that you have to take, but then there are selective ones. So like math, so there is a one and two, or like physics one and two, biology one and two. I was the only person in school who's willing to take physics 2, and teacher refused to teach me. So I had to study
What
all
the
by
fuck?
myself.
Wow, that's some fucked up, I think is the word for it, right?
Yeah. But as a single student, I didn't really have any power to make that change. But I want to say, like, I found that in school, like, both men and women, like any genders, equally could be good at anything, right? Um,
Sure.
it's just the societal like stereotype built. I'm hoping that that's going away
Mhm.
as time goes by. But at the time I was in school, even like in general, my parents were very supportive. Whatever I want to do,
Mhm.
what I do,
Mm.
like I got telescope like in high school and just
Mm.
started looking up the sky, and my parents were supportive. But like when I told them like, oh, I want to study physics and astronomy, astrophysics, like they were like, but why?
'Cause it's awesome. That's
Right?
why.
um, so
Yeah, but it's
definitely,
interesting. I mean,
yeah.
there's a kind of like, so there's a, at least in socialist theory, in social studies theory anyway, there's this concept of social reproduction, you know?
Mhm.
And it's kind of like, it's interesting to me as to like, where did this, like, this, what are we reproducing here? You know,
Mhm.
where does this thing about women not being good at maths or women not being good at science come from, when we've got so much evidence, like you say, to the contrary?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
it's kind of weird, because I can see the social reproduction of physical labor, you
Yeah.
know, men having more muscles and stuff like that. It seems like too obvious to even state, you know? Now, obviously, some men are weak and some women are stronger. I
Yeah.
get there's a sort of like, I don't want to say that all women are weak and all men are strong. That's bullshit, obviously. But
No,
there's a
but I
more
think
obvious kind of like, there's a more
yeah.
obvious stereotype sitting there, if you know what I mean, you know?
Well,
Mhm.
the obvious stereotype, I think, is in the word reproduction if you actually use the word quite literally, right? Because women can reproduce life, and that life becomes workers. And the problem with women studying maths and sciences is, oh, those women might actually want to work instead of have kids, instead of staying home as unpaid labor, right? So I think that's really it, because it's
Mm,
actually true that if you look at Eastern Europe, the former socialist countries, even today, like when we were
mm,
recruiting at my last job, we found the percentage of women when we were recruiting software developers was like way higher in the former Eastern Bloc countries, because they really encouraged women to go into science and engineering and so on. And in fact, like the reason that there are so many women scientists in the U.S. was because of the space race. When the Soviets put Sputnik into space, the US government was like, holy crap, we have effectively pushed 50% of our, potentially bright scientists out of the workforce because they're women. So then they actually started funding programs at universities to attract women into science. It's
Yeah, well,
capitalism, Ray, again.
yeah, I mean, I'm just, it's sort of like, I don't know, that, I think there's more to it than that. I feel like there's a greater degree of prejudice than just the homemaking stuff. But you could be right, Josh. I mean, I'm willing to accept that the capitalism is to blame for most things. So